Since it's a 12-team league, it's hard to have a really unforeseen playoff matchup, but 2005 Omnishambles Plains has to be up there.
54 game season, you play the other 11 teams 4 or 5 times. You think you've seen every matchup. But there's something about seeing the equivalents of Optimus Prime and Bob the Builder tango in the playoffs that just boggles the mind.
It makes it all worth it when something crazy happens in your league, and then nothing ever happens in the LOHL. That was new territory for us.
The two teams that met in the second round couldn't have been any more different. The powerhouse Goofy Ridge Flying Plains were far and away the most talented team in the league, and the 6th place Rutger Hauer Omnishambles had yet to win an LOHL championship.
We made the playoffs this year because we had a really good coach. Duff McGinnis is really good at things like giving speeches, blowing whistles, and drawing. It's hard to not have confidence in a coach like that. He even taught me not to be afraid of being body checked, which I'm still getting over.
McGinnis led the Omnishambles to the 6th seed, but the path wasn't easy. A month into the season, McGinnis was faced with a shocking realization. The Omnishambles only had 13 skaters, not enough to ice a full team.
We looked around, and suddenly it all made sense why we were getting so tired so quickly. There was about 4 feet of space on the bench.
McGinnis had to act fast. If any of the league's officials noticed that the team was only operating at 3/4 manpower, it would be forced to fold. Desperate for a quick fix, he sought out individuals who fit the mold of the ideal hockey player. Athletic, proud wearers of their bling, and hot. The answer became obvious.
Male models. He essentially got a full line of male models. There were wingers Paul Hurl and Diego Musel, center Emil Boudreau-Plouffe, and defensemen Steve Nasreddine and Jesper Turrison. And these were no slouches. Some of them had won actual awards. None of them for hockey, mainly just modeling. I don't think they'd ever played before.
I don't know how he was able to drum up interest for a team that quickly from male bimbos, but hey, he was making it clear that the Omnishambles were going to play a tough game. A tough, sexy game. And they weren't bad.
Now with a full roster, the Omnishambles soared up the standings to 6th place, securing a playoff spot for the first time in years. And it was all thanks to the brilliance of Coach Duff McGinnis.
The way Duff McGinnis was able to build and fashion his team into the bare minimum of what it was required to be was pure genius.
In the first round, the Omnishambles pulled off an upset in overtime of Game 7 against the heavily favored Destruction Bay Blades, off the backs of copious shot blocking and a completely average performance from their goaltender, Johnny Backup.
Yeah, when we beat the Blades, I actually almost passed out. I literally got lightheaded on the bench. Never happened before since, except the time the fortune teller told me that I was going to have a Polish wife, which is all I want before I go, really.
But waiting for them was one of the greatest teams of all time, the Goofy Ridge Flying Plains, who were at the height of a renaissance, cruising to first place in the league and surviving an 8-game series against the Bench Miners 3.
People thought once the Bench Miners squeaked into the playoffs at the end of the season, oh crap, this is the best team available. It's the worst matchup for the Flying Plains, too. But the Plains won anyway in 8 games, so they were rightfully confident. I mean, their whole defense core and top 6 is just a murderer's row. I mean, even just on D with Swan Janssen, Pekka Packland-Vara, and Slicer Wiseman with his massive shot, it's no wonder they averaged 4 goals a game. The only question really was goaltending.
Goalies all kind of respect each other because we're in this sort of unique club. But having an NHL goalie play in our league was a little disrespectful, Like, I know he was, old and not good anymore, but, come on.
We needed a goalie because our last goalie realized he didn't like hockey and ran away. Ron he's okay. It didn't matter. I mean, we could outscore our problems anyway. Not me, because I'm a righty defensive defenseman. Kind of mythical in that regard.
I mean, I can score because I shoot, because I don't like holding onto the puck, because I don't like to get hit. But the Plains had 2 guys who were just amazingly good.
I was scoring so much that I used to have nightmares about only having a 4-point game. I think I had over 100 points, which was nice. Beef was right there with me too. Guy's a freak. Never gets tired, never loses focus, can bench press a building. He's the complete package. Didn't get to 100 points, though.
Crudders Mahogany and Filbert Milkenfridge were the best duo in the league by leaps and bounds, and their offensive dominance led Goofy Ridge to the #1 seed and a much-needed surge in hockey's popularity in the greater Peoria area.
Nobody really knew what to think. I mean, the Omnishambles had just made it by the skin of their teeth. And, I mean, the Plains were the Plains, come on. Little did we know that we would get one of the worst series of all time.
Welcome one, welcome all. Game 1 of Flying Plains Omnishambles is coming to you post-haste and forthwith. Janssen stares down Bugs in the corner. Janssen centers, it comes to Dwayne Man. Shot saved inside, rebound! Backup covers that attempt from Janssen as well.
It doesn't look like the Omnishambles propaganda efforts have worked in the slightest.
Before the game, the Rutger Hauer media ran a segment on the elementary school children of Rutger Hauer and how they were rooting for the Omnishambles. It was the first of many battles for public opinion that the Omnishambles would wage.
Yeah, we're really big on PR and media relations here for some reason. For example, we've put everybody on the Jumbotron with a sob story, from cute tortoises to Make-A-Wish kids to quadruple amputees. It's angered a lot of people. But management still really wants to push it, despite said angry people burning down our old arena.
I think the idea was that if the Omnishambles had more fans regionally, yeah, I don't know.
Against a team like the Plains, you got to have every advantage you can. I mean, every advantage. But none of those new fans were in Goofy Ridge to start the series. It was all Goofy Ridge.
Bugs down low, whops it up to Sanabori. Takes a look at, Dwayne Man crushed him along the half-boards. Tricuspid takes in while his mates change. Lurg on him, poke checks, nothing. Tricuspid into the corner and Lurg elbows him. That's going to be a call.
What an
A needless
idiot.
penalty from Vile Lurg.
That guy sucks. I hate him.
Everyone was a little too fired up. Elbows were coming up. Drew was flying. People were going for hits they shouldn't have. But it ended up working out for me anyway.
Eisenhower with a pathetic attempt at a hit. What was he thinking? Osborne shows him how it's done. And it comes free to Seizure. Adjusts to Seizure in on the load. In fact, LeVar chasing. Pulls it back. A shot. Saved by Rod Tugnut. Let all hope be torn asunder. Recovering through neutral now. Seizure. What is this? Gene Pulio has magnetized his skull to Seizures. It's never been done before.
The Omnishambles were quite obviously dealing with the jitters under the Plains forecheck, flubbing the few chances they did get, but they were bailed out at their own end by an alert Johnny Backup.
I don't know if any of you out there are familiar with the psychoactive effects of nervously eating 7 fruit by the foots pregame, but now I am.
Tugnut and Backup would ensure that the first period ended scoreless, with Goofy Ridge nearly doubling up Rutger Hauer in shots.
Literally nobody cares about shot totals, man. Go outside.
Tuggy made the saves he needed to. But I mean, is that as good as getting 100 points? Nah.
Here comes the Latvian captain, Herbers McGervers. No gain blue. Crossover. Drops to Boatmeal. Boatmeal had it poke checked away by Ted and B. Milkenfridge now. Sanavori now. He loses it too.
Somebody
now Janssen
control
loses
the
it.
puck. Put your back into it.
The blitzing Flying Plains offense continued the onslaught on Johnny Backup, to no immediate success.
Johnny was keeping us in that game. You know, it could have been 3 or 4-0 by that point. If he wasn't in net, they would have scored on all their shots.
I was really scared, but Mr. Backup was really good and he stopped a lot of shots. He also let me drink beer one time.
Lurg skates into his own injured
I'm gonna kill him.
man.
I am going
Tipped away
to
from him
kill
to Sloppies and Taylor. It just got to look like Hot Sloppy is just submitted to the hit. Puck dumped in and it'll come around the Bebco.
Don't do it,
He has
Diego.
lined up.
Don't do it.
That'll be
No.
boarding.
No.
Stop Diego. Oh, he gets him.
They took a fair bit of stupid penalties, and some of them were like really dirty. But man, their defense had it locked down on the PK, and they were none the worse for the wear.
Good zone time here for the power play. Wiseman unloads. Deflected and stopped by Backup. What reaction time there?
Golly.
Jerry, are you making fun of me?
The Flying Plains offense could never find any holes in Johnny Backup for the remainder of the second period, stonewalling them through 40 minutes and leaving with empty hands and without answers.
As tough as that period was, Tugnut made some good saves too. But then again, the Omnishambles shooters aren't that good, you know. I mean, I love the male models as much as the next guy, but you could tell that sometimes they just kind of spaced out.
It was a terrible period for us for sure. Lots of bad penalties, particularly on the hits. But they sure felt good though.
30 seconds left on the power play for Goofy Ridge. A justice seizure horizontalizes Swan Johnson. And now he's looking for a lead pass on the penalty kill. That man is insane.
Filmbert Milkenfridge got up in the second intermission and gave us this awesome speech about how he was with us all the way. And we had 20 minutes to leave it all out on the ice, and he challenged us to be heroes. And we were thinking, it's game one, dude.
And then, yes, the rumors were true. He called us by our first names. That was really tough to hear.
That breaks the code. You don't call your teammates by their first names. You just don't. I'm old enough to remember how devastated the Bruins were when they found out Orr's first name was actually Bobby.
So because of that faux pas, our confidence took a little hit going into the third. Still have a tough time forgiving him.
Scoreless after 2. Game 1 was a certified goalie duel, with Tugnut and backup outdoing the other with every save. And the Omnishambles offense visibly began to flag and falter.
Usual has left wing 24, wide open back door, but he shoots it himself. What are you doing? To the point to Turrison. Turrison skates it all the way down low to Tugnut, shoots! Great stop by Tugnut, and neither of the male models can control the puck. And Nazardine who picks it, nope, he'll lose it too. It's sitting there. These dumb imbos are ruining my favorite sport. Shoot!
I mean, you could definitely feel the frustration. It got to the point where the chippiness and the dirtiness that you had seen before really got racked up to new heights. I mean, that had to have been one of the dirtiest games that I've ever seen. But the refs swallowed their whistles in the third. I could have sworn I legitimately saw one actually intentionally put it in their mouth and swallow it.
Mahogany picks up the loose puck, turns on the Jets on Nazardine. Mahogany stopped by backup.
We were really ticked off. I mean, backup and the shot blocking was good and all, but our shot selection just wasn't there.
Frustration kept building, and there were all these bad hits. And it was only a matter of time until someone crossed that line.
Huge hit by Bugs on Jeffy Bomber. And Bomber's slow getting up, but that looked clean to me. Ferguson peels off of Konachev, who collects the puck. Konachev is lit up by Tricuspid. Oh my goodness, what a vicious high hit that was. And Konachev is down, and Tricuspid's gonna go.
And Tricuspid is mocking the ref in the penalty box. What? That's like the most egregious head hit you can make, guy. Sit down.
Trippy, he's a smart guy and he plays the game right, but he's so stupid. And he's always messing something up.
Daniil Konachev was injured and he had to go to the hospital. That made me sad, because I liked the way he sounded funny. I think he was Russian or something.
We didn't know how severe it was at the time, but that hit really got us going. Unfortunately, we were rolling out that power play.
Interesting look here for the Omnishambles power play, Jerry. They're using what looks like a reserve unit.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Maybe the male models are meant to seduce the other team into letting in a goal, but it's not working, somehow.
Once that power play ended with 2 minutes left, you looked down the bench and you could tell who was raring to go.
100 seconds to go in regulation. Goofy Ridge back to full strength and the crowd is at full throat. Bad change by the Omnishambles power play unit. Bevko comes wide on Bugs, stops up, he shoots, save, rebound, they score! Toro breaks the tie with 1:29 to go.
You think momentum isn't real? That was a full-on screw you blitz by the Plains. I mean, I don't even think they thought they were going to score. They just wanted to get some chances in before overtime.
The ice-breaking goal proved to be the difference, as Goofy Ridge took a 1-0 win away from a very hard-fought game.
That was our chance with the major towards the end of the game. We outshot something like 14-4 in the third, and that would have been the glimmer of hope we needed, but we were hoisted by our own petard, thanks to Wilpie Crumlins.
You haven't heard about Wilpie Crumlin?
We hate that twerp.
Okay, so we get this letter from a Make-A-Wish kid in Cleveland. His name is Wilpie Crumlin. He says he doesn't have long, but he wants to see his favorite players score a power play goal. Unfortunately, most of his favorite players are mostly plugs.
I mean, the Omnishambles didn't want to do it, but they had to because they were such slaves to PR. I mean, who wants to be the guy to say no to Wilpie Crumlins?
Interesting look here for the Omnishambles power play, Jerry. They're using what looks like a reserve unit.
And of course, it turns out Wilpie Crumlins was not some Make-A-Wish kid. He was just some kid from Wisconsin.
They were so hungry for good PR that they forgot to actually corroborate whether or not Wilpie Crumlins was a real G. And that stupid little puke from Wisconsin got one over on them.
It's in our team DNA to save face, but tough to lose that one like that, especially with emotions running that high, but it's a long series, and performance-enhancing drug suppliers are never more than one phone call away.
Leaving the bench at the end of the game, Travis Tricuspid's face is that of someone who knows they're about to be suspended, and he was, for the remainder of the playoffs. Daniel Konachev suffered a grade 7 concussion and was out for the remainder of the series at least.
Really tough to see that, because he was the only real offensive option the Omnishambles had on the blue line, aside from Carl Buggs.
So Bugsy had to step up in a lot of ways. We were sure to make that our PR angle for Game 2. Man, MVP.
Carl Buggs immediately and continually left his mark on Game 2, foiling the efforts of the Flying Plains top line. But one of them was the main target of his defensive dominance.
He was bullying me.
Mahogany turns on Buggs, and Buggs gives him a shot right to the flank. No protection there, and he gives him another one for good measure. Over center. Oh, Buggs! He killed him! He's gone!
Despite the success of the defense, the Omnishambles offense continued to struggle, often inexplicably skating into a sea of enemies and other failures.
What? It's there! It's at your feet! 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 At your... Oh. That may have been the worst shot ever from left wing number 24. Opponent back to Clarence Worthless, the fill-in for Daniel Konachev. Who names their son that? What kind of a name is Clarence?
I heard he skates like his spine has 2 vertebrae.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, the offense was off kilter. Hadn't really been on kilter all series to that point. We needed a hero.
Not to play the victim or anything, but I got bullied too. Hot Sloppies came up high on me and then gave me an extra shot. So I went after him and gave him one too. Just a nasty, snarly player. It's my son's godfather.
The first period again ended goalless, and it appeared that another goalie duel was in the making.
Literally nobody thought that. There just weren't that many shots yet.
Buggs comes away with it across the crease out of Ori, just wide. Oh my days, that was a golden opportunity for the first Rutger Hauer goal of the series. Centers, he fires, blocker saved by Tugnut, he just got enough. Gives the Buggs up high, give it go back to him. Sanford lets it go, deflection, score! Boatmeal in front with the tip. It's 1-0.
Honestly, I didn't even try to tip it. I just flinched because I was scared it would hit me. But I felt like a hero once I changed my underwear.
We love it whenever Timmy the Terror scores, because every time it's like, how? How is this guy in this league? Isn't he like 9?
Boudreaux Plouffe, he has it tipped away from him. He battles with Bepko, but beats him away and cradles the puck. No curl with it straight to the net. Seizure missed it wide.
Oh, a justice. All that work from Emile Boudreaux Plouffe and you squandered it.
I guess I'm one to talk.
For their part, Goofy Ridge's offense was even worse off and had been nearly invisible most of the game and was once again fruitless through 2 periods.
I kind of want to say that we were off our game, but it was also kind of that their defense was really good. It was whichever of them reflects less poorly on us, I guess.
Janssen blistering down the far boards. He has Candelario over center. Sees him there, got it, shoots! Windmill stopped by Johnny Backup. That was so unnecessary, dude. It's the second period of Game 2. Who do you think you are?
I mean, you gotta give credit to Bugsy. He was all over Mahogany all game long and kept coming at him. But he's so quick and so tough, and their best goal scorer got nothing going.
He almost did score on his own net, though, but nobody's perfect.
Eisenhower shot, rebound! Buggs taps it off the post. Oh my God! Buggs almost knocked that one into his own net.
Doug, that was intentional. He's so omnipotent today that it had to have been a prank. I mean, doesn't that make
Slide
sense?
dog, Carl.
Good one, Carl.
Always
You
the
really
joker.
got me.
Timely saves by Tugnut early in the third kept the Flying Plains in the game, just long enough to finally break through.
Bungley forced back at the line. Nice look there to Coho in open space. Coho goes straight to the hoop. Forehand score! Daryl Coho again.
Kaiser's definitely a depth goal scorer, but that's exactly the kind of guy you need to step up come playoff time, especially when the greatest offense in league history can't score worth a crap.
That lit a fire under the Plains. Even Crutter's Mahogany was able to break free a little bit.
Mahogany on Worthless. Inside out, what a move! And Backup just gets enough. What a goal that would have been.
But as I think has been made clear, it was Carl Buggs' night that night.
McGurbers reaches and whacks it up to Piston at the point. Great pass over to Buggs, bombs away. He scores! It's peanut butter jelly time. That howitzer overpowered Ron Tugnut's weak and brittle hands.
That shot was so fast, I actually laughed. And then someone punched me and I cried.
There was no way that jerk was scoring the game-winning goal that night. We were ticked.
A furious push from the Goofy Plains in the final 7 minutes of the game was met time and time again with frustration. The greatest offense in the league had only scored 2 goals in almost 2 games.
Score! Terrible goal.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was bad.
Yeah, that one. I don't know what happened there. Yeah.
I can say this now because the series is over, but that goal, that was awful.
For the first time in this series, which has only been 2 games, so I guess it's not that impressive, we're going to overtime.
Let's go. I'm so excited.
I was not excited for overtime. The game had mostly been a defensive slog, and mistakes were the only reason that it even made it to overtime. Sure enough, that's how it ended, too.
Bugs roars ahead. The Plains drop, and everybody lets him go by. Saved by Tugnut.
I mean, I was getting really mad that our guys were letting Bugs almost win the game. So I committed a little ultraviolence.
Oatmeal head up ice, looks down, and the Ogie plasters him. What a hit from a guy who doesn't usually throw him. 2-on-2 ahead. Eisenhower drops to Taylor as Bug blows him up, of course, but Taylor falls the puck and goes all the way to the net. He scores! Opus Taylor! The Plains win again, 3-2.
Johnny Backup's inexcusable trepidation before this goal became the talk of the LOHL.
I was just in complete shock how he gave up a real bad goal, in my opinion, and it was like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. Bugs took himself out of position, but PP Pispinen was soft on the puck, and Backup just didn't cover it. It's utterly inexplicable.
What was so frustrating to the Omnishambles was how little responsibility Johnny Backup took for that gaffe.
Yeah, I saw it was spinning weirdly, and I didn't want to try and play a wild puck.
Taylor had just blown through Pispinen, and I didn't think I could beat him to the puck.
I just couldn't stop thinking about the plight of the homeless in this country.
Yeah, they just had a great team out there. They played their game, got the bounces, and got the 2 points.
Yeah, I just remembered that I left the oven on.
Down 2-0, the Plains were right where they wanted to be, and many expected them to be, but the Omnishambles no longer had any room for error.
I mean, clearly the issue was they had not manipulated the media enough, as they were so used to doing. They decided to turn the series into a classic good guys versus bad guys scenario. And they had to do it because they were playing in a different city than they usually do. They were playing in Cincinnati. And people there have no regard for human life of any kind.
We said to the media that we were going to be the scrappy underdog team that really beats the evil, skilled team. And Wilpie Crumlins was only step 1.
I told the reporters that Daryl Coho had cooties, but everyone told me that wouldn't work, unless we actually won.
Game 3 at the Cincy Sassy Civic Center. Plains up 2-0. And, yeah, this could be a real short series. I will not fib. The Ogie approaches. Oh! Bubs the Tormentor. Twain man off the post! Suddenly everything is happening. Oh, Neptune! The Gerbers is dead! He's cast off the mortal realm! Milkenford going to the front, curls off the post! Bogey to Milkenford, score! I can't breathe!
What can I say, man? You anger the beast, you awaken the beast.
The people forget this about MF, but he's great at forcibly making space for himself using his core, which is built. I mean, he was the poster child for man-spanning pants because his core was just so well built. He needed larger pants.
For a second there, we were in shambles. PP Pispinen almost threw the puck into his own net, and that would have been a grievous slight.
Osborne loses it to Bugs, to Pispinen in Konachev's place. And fake fire, score! Ron Tugnut never saw it.
They got bailed out by a guy who doesn't score. What are the odds? But that's where they got the good guy idea.
The Omnishambles were getting depth scoring, and nothing says they're the good guys like getting depth scoring in big moments. It was over for the Plains at that point.
If our defensemen and bottom 6 guys can score, then we'll definitely be the good guys. Because when guys who can't score, people like that. I guess.
Once again, a tight checking and scrappy game from the Flying Plains and a superior blocking game from the Omnishambles saw the period end mostly without event. But the fans were starting to warm to the Omnishambles as the good guys.
And then these stats started showing up on the ice, like graphics. They were actually in the ice and on the glass. It was very distracting, and they did not look good. We had no idea what was happening for a while. Between periods, we decided to call up the LOHL office to see what was up.
The VP of Operations isn't the most glorious job, but I'd held it for almost 5.5 years by then, which was longer than any of my predecessors by, 5 years and 5 months.
He said that the LOHL commissioner was testing out some new nanite technology he had developed while vacationing in Cyprus. I don't know what Cyprus is. It sounds fake.
I wanted to tell the commissioner that spending all his money on nanites and cool effects and things that people don't really care about was going to blow our budget for nothing. But I realized it was falling on deaf ears once he got to his 4th Labatt Blue.
Now, the commissioner has a lot of ideas, and woe betide you if you disagree with them.
I got demoted for my opposition to the commissioner's ideas. I was vice president of operations. I argued with him again later, and I got demoted to vice president of operations. Such was the nature of our professional relationship.
Doug, I swear to the heavenly host, if this is another grinding game, I'm going to projectile vomit.
Candelario hits Turrison. Jamer Candelario scored just for Turrison into the net. Here comes Grabs. Big hit on Zib. He laid him out absolutely. Nasruddin corks down Jeffrey Palmer. The male model with a huge
You had
hit.
it coming,
And Model
Lurd. You had it
gets
coming.
his comeuppance. Now Diego Musel has it. Look at him go. Why can't anybody catch him? He's not that fast. Move to the inside on Taylor. Yes, go. He shoots. Tugnut just got enough of it.
I was really rooting for him there, Jerry. Man.
You're Jerry.
Oh.
Breakout now for the Omnishambles, and Bastro Bungley reversed him, and beating Bispin and hits Daryl Coho with the kamikaze over-under snickerdoodle. It's every man for himself.
So I was starting to lose my temper, I can't lie. At the end of the first, I guess Bugs boxed me out, and maybe I accidentally two-handed my stick in the general direction of some important extremity or another. I don't remember.
Another period gone by with little separating the two teams. Frustration for the Flying Plains came and went, as they sometimes tried to do too much to score. But one thing that remained the same throughout the second period was Clarence Worthless.
Coach McGinnis wanted as many people as possible to become good guys, like unsung heroes. But Clarence isn't good enough to be anything.
We love him, but we love him in the same way that parents love their babies, even when they puke all over the table.
So we get to about halfway through regulation, and Cal Ferguson goes off for something. And it appears as if he does the no-no salute from the penalty box.
On the bench, we were all like, he's unifying the German Volk! He's unifying the German Volk! That's at least a double minor! But we didn't get the call.
He was pointing to the scoreboard, okay? Everybody knows mummy, waving, Hitler, taxi, scoreboard.
Osborne to Pistonen. Looks off to Santabori, one-timer. Great stop by Tugga. He read that play like a pew booklet. Took a funny hop off the rim there, and the Omnishambles can't handle it. Taylor burns ahead through everybody all alone. Shot! Saved by backup.
Boy, flashbacks to Game 2's overtime, am I right?
Ron Tugnut continued his stellar play for the Plains throughout the second period, keeping the score level again.
Here comes Clyde Eisenhower on Nasruddin. Oh!
Fun fact about Dwight Eisenhower. We know that this kid, Sidney Crosby, has worn the same jock since the beginning of juniors a few years ago. We know that Brendan Shanahan has had the same shoulder pads since forever. Dwight Eisenhower has had his same helmet his entire life. He was born with it on and just never took it off. His hair, his neck, his ears, his skull, all of it turned out fine. It's only his brain that's messed up.
Again, I don't think we played badly at all, but we just couldn't shoot around backup enough. It's a lot of pressure when you score 100 points.
So the good guys thing that the Omnishambles had going, that was starting to grow in number. But people forget that Carl Buggs was the prototypical good guy on the Omnishambles because he was the stepper-upper in Konichev's absence.
Yeah, I wanted to go home.
Carl Buggs was a very good defender in this league for a long time. He comes from a proud lineage, very proud. They've been involved in hockey in some way since the 19th century. Even now, people shudder at the name. Bugs. Ooh.
Omnishambles blocks and Omnishambles physicality finally led to a change in the score.
Third line out for the Omnishambles. Kotola, Seizure, and Boudreaux-Plouffe. Seizure softly over to Boudreaux-Plouffe. Low risker. Score! It trickled through Tugnut. 2-1 Omnishambles.
Man, the bench went nuts for that. We love those model guys. Even with 11 minutes left, we were like, we might win this. It was so hype, man.
We're going to lose a game this close because of a goal like that? Not on my clock.
Zib wins the draw. Bungley with space. Feeds off to Colo. He scores! Dale Colo continues his reign of terror over Johnny Backup. We're tied 51 seconds later.
He took that cooties thing to heart. Accusations like that can either destroy a man or just turn him into Daryl Coho.
Coho's third goal of the series gave the Flying Plains offense new life, drowning the Omnishambles in shots for the remainder of the third.
It was the black pads. They were really throwing me off.
But the Plains' frustration culminated in an elbowing penalty to Filbert Milkenfridge with 12 seconds to go.
Of course they call that one. The refs were influenced by good guy narrative. See, that's what happens when everyone starts rooting for you.
The plan was working. We just needed a quick goal in overtime on the power play and we'd be going home fast.
The Plains killed off the penalty, but seconds quickly turned into minutes off the clock, and the players were wearing themselves down with each passing shift. Only adrenaline kept them going.
Mahogany takes it from Dwayne Man.
It's Bugs
Here
again.
comes Bugs, and he destroys him for the 17th time this series.
I was not having a good time.
Playing in that overtime was like crack. Not that I know.
Turson crosses the puck up high. Passes to Truckee Osborne while falling. Osborne a shot saved by Tugnut.
Tugnut. Backup. 2 brick walls extended the game further and further beyond regulation.
Bevko right down Broadway. The shot rebound comes to Zib. He fired it wide off the outside of the net. Uni Zib could have won the game right there, but he's an alien.
I remember in that second overtime, I'd get a shot finally, but Bugs shoved me and I went flying. It was because I think by then I'd lost 40 pounds. Hockey is hard.
I mean, you saw how far he flew. Bugs, ooh, that dude is strong. Give him credit for not crying much.
The second overtime dragged on and on. A 3-0 series lead awaited the Plains if they scored, and a lifeline awaited the Omnishambles if they scored.
Osborne with 2 seconds left, and that's easy for Tugnut. Game 3 is going to overtime 3. This is the longest game in Omnishambles history, and it's getting close for the Flying Plains.
There's this funny thing after the whistle in the third OT where Bugsy and Mahogany grabbed each other after the whistle, but they were both too tired to do anything. It was a great metaphor for a common man's disillusionment with war, really.
Johnson down the sideboard, still somehow without a point in this series. Centers over to Pulio. What a stop off the glove by Johnny Backup. Save of the series so far. 16-10 left in the third OT.
You suck, Lurg.
Milkenfridge all alone. Saved at the end of the line by Backup. 45 saves and counting. Candelario centers to Bomber. Wide with the shot. 10 minutes gone by in the third overtime.
At one point, those stupid nanas showed up again on the ice for the whole world to see. And that said my stats were zeros across the board. I mean, how's that supposed to make me feel?
Omnishambles on the charge. Comes to Seizure wide open. He whiffs. He whiffed on the shot.
Can this game be over already? I'm gonna go home.
McGerber's clean win to Sanavori. He'll hold it and send it back to Lurg. Fires. Deflection. Score! Timmy Mobile. 3-2 Omnishambles.
I wasn't even trying to score. I was just flinching because I was scared again.
Yeah, man, that one bites. We had so many chances to put it away.
But the greater fallout of the loss would be that the world began to see the Omnishambles as the good guys.
Okay, rumor has it, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to irresponsibly propagate the rumor wantonly. It's been said that the Omnishambles actually lobbied the LOHL offices to have the goal credit changed to Vile Lurg, because he would be another one of the plucky non-goal scorer good guys or whatever, the depth goal scorers. And it would be like, oh look, there's their all heart and all soul guys scoring. They're the good guys. And central statistics for the LOHL doesn't exactly use the most secure forms of record keeping.
Record keeping at the league office has been spotty for a while. The record keeper insisted that we stay on Windows 95 because it was the operating system that brought him closest to God. When you're right, you're right.
The world bought into the Omnishambles PR manipulation, bullying Filmbert Milkenfridge for being the mascot of Man-Spanning Pants, and coming down hard on Daryl Coho for allegedly having cooties.
We were not bad guys. I mean, we're a good team. Like, that's not a bad thing.
You got to hand it to our PR guys. They were 100% right. It was working, but we were still behind in the series 2-1.
Now, the Flying Planes decided, evidently, going into Game 4, that if the Omnishambles were going to be the good guys, the Flying Planes were going to be the bad guys.
Scuffle along the near side boards, McGerber's joins. Still nothing. Oh, Slicer Wiseman crushes him while his back is turned. No call. Sandovory to McGerber's, and he's kneed down by Slicer Wiseman again.
Despite the injurious plays from Slicer Wiseman, the Omnishambles dug in and came out to a stronger start than they had in any of the prior games.
Nazardine now over to Lurg. Lurg fires off the post. Violet Lurg obviously feeling empowered after that OT goal he scored last game.
What? Nope. Boatmeal deflected.
No, they changed the credit. It went down as Lurg's goal.
Ah! He stole the goal from
Terry,
Boatmeal.
Stop, Terry.
He stole
No,
it.
calm
I'm
down.
gonna kill him. I'm gonna freaking kill him.
Boudreaux flukes. Good low shot. Fisted aside by Tugnutt. Now it squirts to Peltola. Peltola cuts right in. Scores! Pesky Peltola roofs it. 1-0 Omnishambles.
That dude is one of the hardest working guys on the team. But he doesn't score that often, so the good guys thing was in full swing.
There's more to being an appealing hockey team than just role guys scoring. Oh my God, skill players. How about them? Guys who get, I don't know, 100 points?
The Plains managed only a paltry handful of shots in the first period, suffocated once again by Rutger Hauer's blocking scheme.
Coho gives it away, a third-degree boo-boo. Osborne saved by Tugnutt. All Omnishambles this period. Osborne slithers away to the net at Finkelpeckle, 4 reps and score! Chucky! Osborne!
Daryl giveth and Daryl taketh away. Tale as old as time, really.
I could physically see how disappointed the Plains were. Their faces reminded me of mine when I found out the world wasn't big enough for both Elvis and Star Wars.
Osborne stops and starts into the zone. Knocked down by Wiseman by McGerber. Score!
That was a bit of justice for Herbert McGerber, who had been assassinated by Wiseman twice already. I think you can even see him curl and point to him or gesture at him or something. And that kind of thing only happens to the good guys.
Down by 3 early, the Flying Plains had a massive hole to climb out of. Neither team had trailed by more than 1 goal all series, and now they trailed by triple the amount of 1. 3.
I wasn't worried. There was still plenty of time to get back in it. As long as there was poop in the Omnishambles, we could scare the crap out of them.
Underway here in the second period. The Plains are facing a cavernous 3-0 deficit. Milkenfridge just does a practice 360, I guess. Wiseman fires. Nope. Boatmeal just gave a shove. Recollects. Cranks one. He scores! What a bullet from Slicer Wiseman. Timmy Boatmeal's a weakling.
What was said in that locker room that turned it all around? Well, that's between us and the CEO of Denny's.
That shot was at least 100 miles an hour. They say Wiseman's huge slap shot causes nuclear fission, but I think they inflated the numbers of the death toll.
I really wanted to get in on the action, but the creature was there.
Mahogi got a lane, sprinting up, but here comes Bugs, and he hounds him down like a man possessed.
Doug Carl Bugs has been on Crutter's Mahogi like blue on berries this series. I genuinely am worried for Mahogi's sense of self-actualization.
Tenby, up to Dwayne Man.
I should not have made that pass.
Dwayne Man into the zone, and Bugs removes the third dimension from Rain Dwayne Man. What can't he do?
The Omnishambles play intensified. Shots were blocked, skulls were crushed against stanchions, and scoring chances were high dangerized. And Johnny Backup held the line behind the skaters. Rutger Hauer was untouchable. Until...
Mahogany's not going to even bother leading the charge. He gives it to Tenby.
What a role reversal there.
Silence, Knave. Lurg backs way off. Tenby fires and scores! There's a blue moon over Rutger Hauer. Will Tenby has scored.
My thing is, I play increasingly popular Commodore songs every time I score. Currently, I'm up to Cebu, which is an instrumental, so I should tell you how often I score.
I can't believe I let that one in, honestly. I almost gave up on the shot. We were just sitting back and snoozing too much. All of a sudden, it's a 1-goal game with only 30 to go.
Again, I know he's going for the emerging good guy thing, but putting Clarence Worthless out there after a goal against is not the play. At least he's not Lurg.
Despite turning up the heat, neither team could find the back of the net for the rest of the middle period.
Puck trickles all the way back to Bogues. He winds and fires!
A blocker save at the horn by Johnny Backup preserved a 1-goal lead for the Omnishambles, heading into the final frame. But somehow, it was the Omnishambles who played with more desperation to start the period, with Tugnut being the sole reason the game was kept within range.
I hope I play as good as Ron Tugnut when I'm 84 or however old he is. At the very least, I hope my rhino tattoo doesn't turn into a beluga whale.
Before anybody could blink, the period was almost half over.
Now we're starting to get nervous. Not quake in the boots nervous, but tummy rumble nervous.
Candelario all the way down into the corner. Centers to Bomber. Shot blocked aside. It comes back to the front. And Backup is there to cover. Boy, nobody except Daryl Coho and the top line have been able to consistently find the net. And it's got the Plains 13 minutes away from a brand new series that they once led 2-0.
We just weren't the same team that game. We hadn't been since we got to Rutger Hauer. But there was one point where I was on the ice with a good matchup. I saw Clarence Worthless out there. He'd been chewed up all game, and I thought, I can tear through this guy like hot cheese.
Mahogany up high. Mahogany curls. Comes it straight to the net. It's blocked. Where is it? It's out. Saved by Backup.
A bit of luck was involved in Johnny Backup's game that night. But luck is a part of the game.
No, I'm just good.
As time wound down, the relentless Omnishambles forecheck smothered the Flying Plains rush up ice, over and over again, until less than a minute remained.
Coho gains the zone. Crowd roaring. Centers to Candelario. Bucks him down 30 feet. Nobody's got it. Shot by Candelario. It's kicked away by Backup.
There was about 30 seconds left, and one of their defensemen just straight up punched me in the face. I figured that was about time to pack it in.
Coho leads the charge. Lurg backing up again. Shot by Coho. Saved by Johnny Backup. And that will do it.
Even though the Plains had blown their lead, going back to Goofy Ridge was reassuring to them because the fans were great and they had a lot of ways to have fun in Illinois.
We would hang out with fans all the time. We used to go out into the federally owned hinterland and nail corn to the ground. It never disappeared the same way.
And it was no secret that the Flying Plains were experiencing a resurgence in fan interest. And it was also no secret that said fans were barring foreigners from Ohio from entering the arena for Game 5. And Game 5 is really when we saw both of those things in full throat.
One player who had stepped up in the playoffs in front of the Goofy Ridge faithful was Ron Tugnut, who hadn't played a professional game of hockey in almost a year, and was signed to a one-playoffs contract by Goofy Ridge.
He was signed in the first place because their starter quit hockey, and their backup is always inebriated, so the best they could do was a 37-year-old NHL retiree. He's light years ahead of me.
Up ahead for the Plains now. Uh-oh. It's Thurston and Worthless back.
The weak links.
Thurston goes for the hit and misses. It's all up to Clarence Worthless. And he pulls Jack Bemko. He stopped a 2-on-1 by himself. Oh, what a hero.
After that poke check, Bebs came off the ice and sat next to me. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Teddy, I am going to kill myself."
Ron Tugnut channeled his 1991 self and stopped everything the Omnishambles threw at him in the first period.
Goofy Ridge was getting a little antsy because they knew they were relying on Ron Tugnut too much. And they were antsy to the point where once Carl Bugs crossed the line, they crossed it right back.
Julio's been pretty quiet this series. He'll come up and just get destroyed by Bugs.
Doug, that hit broke my bones.
It unclefted my interglutes.
Here we go, here we
and
go.
Here comes Stonewall Bemko. He's hot. They're gonna fight. The crowd to their feet.
The TV, we handled that fight so poorly. We handled it like a typical 2000s crew.
Folks, we want everyone watching at home to know that this is not the type of hit that's allowed in the LOHL, and fighting is punished with a major penalty.
And meanwhile, the radio guys handled it like a 90s crew.
He's beating it!
Oh my God! Those men are fighting! Oh my God! Oh my God! Help!
He's beating the tar out of every molecule!
That fight was freaking awesome. You heard it said that fights get your energy up? Well, my energy got so high that I punched our coach, and then he screwed it all up by losing.
So we're at what, game 5? So you guys are about to discover the thing about the shin guards?
Oh boy. Justice Caesar is not going to be happy about that.
No, it's cool. It's in the past. We were able to block so many shots in this series and against the Blades because of our shin guards. They were ballistic shin guards. Yeah, my main job is as a defense contractor, and I also do some smithing on the side, so.
I don't know how nobody figured it out earlier, honestly. Someone had to have heard the sound of clinking metal when we were suiting up, but as AC pointed out, there's nothing in the rulebook that says you can't play with titanium-like equipment.
Boy, Goofy Ridge is getting nothing through. It's just a forest of legs in front of backup there. Great back check there by Milk and Fridge. Mahogany steals. Wanna move? That make the ball then laid a shot steal. He scores! Crutters Mahogany with his first goal of the series.
Yeah, I didn't need reminding that was my first goal. 100 points in the regular season, just saying.
That was the point. I knew we were going to win the series. No doubt in my mind.
Boatmeal slaloms over center net by Tenby, and he pancakes Boatmeal. Stood him up like a prom date. And Boatmeal is slow getting up. He's just pouting.
I didn't like that. He was pestering me.
The Flying Planes dominated off the momentum generated from Mahogany's goal. But now it was backup's turn to hold the line.
All of a sudden, it's a mirror image of that first period. The only difference being Goofy Ridge scored where Rutger Hauer couldn't. And that goal really energized them. Maybe a little too much.
Face-off win for the Plains. Macklin Bar, very soft dish from Bungley. Whoa. Yikes.
Jesus, Turbo.
Settle down there, Chief. This is the big boys table. Look at Clarence Wordless. There he goes.
Oh my God, it's
there
happening.
There he goes.
It's happening.
Look at him.
Shoot, Clarence. Shoot.
It's one of the signs. Saved by Tugnut.
The Omnishambles escaped the period down by only a goal, but where the joy of tying the series had been before the game, now there was a putrid garlic knot of doubt as they were well on their way to facing elimination.
We still had a chance.
It comes loose to Bugs, screaming up over Blue, and Tenby lights him up. The crowd loves that.
We had no chance.
Absolute mensch play by Teddy there. As a thank you, I bought him a Louis Vuitton tie clip.
Johnny Backup never faltered under the deafening roar of the crowd, keeping the score at 1-0 as the Plains' top line closed in.
I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but how scared can you really be of people named Milk and Fridge, Mahogany, and Dwayne Mann?
So it's about 5 minutes gone in the third. EBP's just gunning it to the corner. I'm trailing up high, and Pelt's on the far side. He gives me the worst pass in history. It takes me a second to collect it, but I box out the defenseman somehow. And then I just turn inside, and boom. Not gonna lie, I thought it was my goal. But I'm happy for Peltz, man. That guy plays like he's on crack. Not that I'd know.
The Omnishambles really needed that one. They had nothing before that goal.
All of a sudden, it's a tie game. Goofy Ridge has the advantage, but Rutger Hauer has planted just a seed of a doubt. And that seed blossomed after a shocking revelation.
Huge hit by Graps there. He flattened him. Oh,
It's always the hippies that land the biggest hits in hockey.
Candelario in the corner. Bird crushes in with the board. And Becca back with Barable. People's going to take him to task.
Kill him, Pekka! I want you to kill him!
Just grappling. Holding. Lurg missed. Bar comes back with one. Bar loses his helmet. Gotta be careful here. Lands an uppercut. And Lyle Lurg has... Lurg has a pouch of excess skin on his head. That's disgusting. Lyle Lurg has no hair.
It was one of the most hideous things I've ever seen. I actually glanced down in between the benches, and I just saw, mothers covering their kids' eyes, dudes retching in the aisles. I mean, Lurg isn't human. He doesn't deserve human rights or considerations. He has a pouch of skin on his head.
I don't know. It just looked like a really bad mohawk to me.
That's one of those things that only happens once in a generation, like Nagasaki or bubonic plague. You just got to reach within you and find the strength to keep going.
That happened with, a little over half a period to go? That horror may have been the difference that late in the game.
Good cycling from the Plains power play here. Eisenhower over to Janssen. The table's been set for him. Waits, fires, saved by backup. Oh, Janssen shot it right into him. When he closes his eyes tonight, he's seeing the flesh pouch.
I mean, you can fault the flesh pouch, but Johnny Backup was stealing that game. They were all over us. Eventually, we finally got our shin pads working again.
Here comes Dwayne Mann, still without a goal in this series. Pulls up, everyone over, skates, grips, fires, blocked by Bugs. The shin guards, 4.5 to go.
So there's 2 minutes left. I'm coming down the left wing. Bugsy's going straight down the middle, and my other forwards are going up. It's an all-out blitz.
Bugs has a step in the lane. He shoots. Safe rebound. Caesar just forks it wide. The rebound was rolling on him, and he couldn't get a good handle on it.
That's the last which I'll ever consult.
40 to go. Possibly the last rush for Goofy Ridge. But no, Santabori hunts him down and takes it away. Gives to Boatmeal. Great reception. He scores! Davey Boatmeal with 36 seconds to go. What a turn of events. The Omnishambles lead 2-1. 4 seconds left. Eisenhower up. Fires just wide by Nano Angstrom, and the game is over.
I don't understand, man. The Omnishambles may have convinced the world that they were the good guys, but we were the good guys to our own fans. Shouldn't we have won? Maybe being the good guys doesn't automatically mean you'll win.
Opus Taylor said some very hurtful things to some of us in the locker room. I know he was upset, but they were just insults. I wrote them down. Stupid face, formless, supreme whiner, lord, cream-faced loon, bolting hutch of beastliness, egg. That one really gets me.
I heard that the Plains had kind of a breakdown in the locker room because they were facing elimination all of a sudden. That meant it was going to be that much harder for them to pull off a win in Game 6.
When you think about it, the Omnishambles really hadn't been that good for about a game and a half. It gave the Plains enough time to fully adjust to them. But at the same time, Johnny Backup had fully adjusted to the Flying Plains. And you thought, man, one of them has to give in Game 6.
Game 6 got off to a slow start, despite ravenous energy from the crowd, who believed wholeheartedly that the Omnishambles were the goodest guys. They appeared to be shell-shocked that they were actually leading the series against the Plains.
We were a mess. We didn't think any of it was really real. So we thought it was fake.
It's just the anticipation, you know? One win away from the finals? Who'd have thought? But it was not a good start to that period. Just like we weren't good most of Game 5.
Worthless, soft dish to Musel. He's got a lane, but he'll peel back, and Taylor pins him against the boards. He's held there for a moment before it can get poked back out to nobody. Musel he does get it, but then he's pinned by Pulio again. And finally, it's kicked out.
This game is boring.
The Omnishambles poured on the forecheck, a hallmark of good guys. But as soon as they forced a turnover, they quite obviously became afraid of retaliation.
Over to the half-boards and Milk and Fridge. Timmy! It's Milk and Fridge! And Boatmeal puts his arms up in defense like a coward!
Oh, Timmy,
Weak!
come on. Have some self-respect.
Play was sluggish and slovenly. A freaking again.
Here's Lurg, lines up, sends it to goal! Stopped by Tugnutt, he saw it all the way. Hurl is chased down by Pack. He's trying to saw him in half! Pekka Packlenbar is butchering Paul Hurl. Sloppy's bad pass feeds it up, it's a giveaway. Bunkley sends it down low to Koho, score! Daryl Coho, he will drag this team kicking and screaming in the finals if it kills him.
I really don't know what we would have done without Kaiser. I mean, our first line was snake bet all series, and I mean, nobody was scoring.
Uni Zib, who filled in that third line center role after Travis Tricuspid was suspended, he had 3 or 4 points at that point. It was crazy clutch. Funny story, whenever he was asked where he came from, like juniors or college or hometown, he would just point to the sky. Like, Alaska? English, dude.
Yeah, that put the fear of God in us. We thought we really got to close this series out.
There is no way we're winning a Game 7 in Goofy Ridge. We got to end this here.
Peltola 2-on-2 with Seizure. They've been money this series. Soft dish to Seizure, curls and fires. It pops up in the air, drops down, they score! It's Seizure! Over Tugnutt and in!
Just how I drew it up, man. All part of the plan.
Depth guys scoring? Good guys. That's all I'm saying.
I just don't know how you can look at Augustus Caesar scoring, Mile Lurg scoring, Hesky Peltola scoring, and not think that we're the good guys.
Both goalies held the score at 1 apiece at the end of 20 minutes, leaving nothing decided yet.
Nogi 1-on-2. Does he have some magic? Rips one off the ankle. Allen Pisman cleans him out. The Omnishambles defensemen are standing up for each other.
How come you don't stand up for me like that?
Pass comes up out to Milk and Fridge from Janssen. Boatmeal is quaking in his boots. He's so scared. He's choking. What has become of him? He recollects. Bolts. He curls inside. Fires up the front foot. Deflected. Score! Clyde Eisenhower just moved up to the first line, and it pays immediate dividends.
I've never seen a more cowardly display than Timmy Boatmeal right then. Unforgivable.
Honestly, it was kind of hilarious how scared he was.
Nobody thought that Oatmeal would be the guy to choke in a big game, mainly because he's so terrified anyway.
Philbert Milk and Fridge is a meanie, and he has cooties.
The mental mistakes for the Omnishambles didn't stop there.
Eddenby deft pass off the boards to Taylor down low. Lurg lets him get around him. Taylor right to the paint and trickles through, but backup is right there.
Lurg is a waste of biotic processes. Why is he out there? Who does he have dirt on? You all have knives on your feet, and his jugular is literally right there. Look, watch this. Coho's gonna absolutely dog walk him.
Coho works his way, the slowest deke I've ever seen, and he's in a backup! Save!
Gradually over the second period, nerves began to wear off as the reality of each team's situation began to set in.
Zib over to, nope, poke tripped away by Grafton, will have a foot race. He's got the puck, outlasting Janssen and Wiseman, will take it all away, got him at break, there's Musel, he scores! The male model, tie game!
Fourth line scorer, the good guys.
At this point, I was thinking, next goal wins.
Sloppy's collects. He'll turn up ice, and Milk and Fridge blows him up. That's going to be a penalty. It looked like Milk and Fridge came up high on
Doug,
Sloppy's.
I think it was an elbow.
Delayed penalty for the Flying Planes. Johnny Backup comes to the bench. Oh, Sloppy's gets destroyed again by Milk and Fridge. Oh, Sloppy's has got to be in serious pain, but the Flying Planes still can't control the puck. Lurg sends it down to Musel. Musel over the corner, guns it straight across the crease to Sloppy's. He scores! Hot Sloppies never say die. Barely a minute after they tied it.
Okay, next goal wins.
Hot sloppies? Sloppies? I don't need to give that guy any kind of ballistic shin guard. He's made of rubber, man. Never had an injury in his entire life.
Rung around the boards into the corner. Tenby and Peltola chase. Peltola, what a battle taking on Tenby, who outclasses him. Boudreaux Plouffe has 2 men on him, but here comes Peltola again. Balls to the wall, he helps pry it loose. Now Boudreaux Plouffe beats away on Tenby. He's got him pinned hard into the boards. Here comes Peltola again. He comes away with it. Peltola goes for goal. He scores! Pesky Peltola!
Okay, but really, this time, the next goal really wins it.
Boatmeal trundles down the far side. McGerber's and Hurl with him, 3-on-2. Boatmeal cuts across, but lost it. Comes right to McGerber's. Score! Oh, Latvian, my Latvian.
Whenever we score next, that's the goal that'll be next goal wins.
Easily our worst period of the playoffs. 4 goals in 6 minutes? That's almost as bad as 5 goals in 6 minutes.
It felt good. I was really happy. Coach McGinnis gave me a big hug. And I gave the other team the middle finger.
We were so close, man. One more period and we were in the final. We weren't taking anything for granted. Hard work got us those goals, and hard work was going to have to keep them from scoring.
Wiseman starts the rush up ice. Milkenfridge with him. Wiseman has a step on Lurg. Wiseman fires. Back up stops in the trickle behind him. Milkenfridge taps it in.
Lurg sucks.
The Plains captain leads the comeback. It's 5-3, just 90 seconds into period 3.
Called it. Next goal wins. We just locked up the W.
That was the worst possible thing that could have happened for the Omnishambles to start the third. Except for maybe zigging when you should have zagged. Or having pizza when you should have french fried.
It was a wake-up call. We all looked around the bench, and we're like, oh yeah, it's on.
Ferguson tries to get by, but a justice seizure makes him one with the power ad.
We were looking up at the clock, and that thing just kept getting lower and lower. Do clocks go low? Does time go low?
Zabe toe drags around Turris and shoots. Kick save and a beauty by backup. Bebko. Over now to Astro Bunkley. Fires. Blocked down in front. It's loose. Scramble. Cole fires. Stopped by backup at point blank range. Grabs muscles Milkenfridge along the boards but gets free. Gives it up to Bebko. Why? Bebko feeds Mahoney. He turns. Inside fires. Just off the shoulder of backup. Under 7 minutes to go. Second line out now for the Plains. Puleo feeds to Taylor at the side. And backup humps the post well enough. 3 minutes to go. Johnson over center, 4-on-3. Everyone else falls behind, 1-on-1. Slap shot blocked by Lurg. And he takes a hit to make the play, sending it out with 90 seconds left. Johnson over center. His line mates are out of gas. Nothing left in the tank. Boat checked by Pispinen. And Sanavori has it, but Bomber gives chase. Boatmeal has the empty net waiting. Boatmeal gives it to Sanavori. Weidman and Johnson back cuts inside. Score! The Omnishambles are going to win. Workless Corrals, he sends it out. The Omnishambles are going to the 2005 LOHL Final.
Hockey kind of sucks. The puck's too small and the lingo is stupid.
Maybe it was just destiny. If everyone says the Omnishambles were the good guys, and they backed it up with depth scoring and heart and soul play, who am I to say they weren't the good guys?
I'd feel more bad for the Plains if they weren't the most talented LOHL team that there's ever been in the regular season.
Every team in a year walks home without a championship, except one. But it really, really hurt the Flying Plains that they lost to the Omnishambles. But the reason was pretty straightforward. They just couldn't score to save their lives. Or their season.
Okay, now I have to go home. It's past my bedtime and my mom's almost here.
There must be more to life than just beating the Flying Plains. I wake up every day, and all there is to do is beat the Plains. I refuse to believe that God put me on this earth solely for the purpose of beating the Plains. I can't imagine having to beat the Plains day in, day out, with no hope of anything ever changing.
The series was complete. A second straight underdog win for the Omnishambles and a ticket to the LOHL Finals. Superior performances by Johnny Backup and a Justice Seizure's shin guard smithing prowess rendered the Milkenfridge-Mahogany connection solely pedestrian. Who wrote this?
Personally, I think the whole playoff deserves a redo. If I can't score, I at least want to try fighting. But then again, Darius Clock said he would take my bones apart and disassemble my very soul.
I only cried for a few hours this time. I think we're seeing improvement. The team's not going anywhere in the future years. We're going to bring a Stanley Cup to Goofy Ridge before long.
Overall, I'm just so proud of that series. It was the best I'd ever played in my life. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
A lot of folks made their lineage proud in that series. I know Carl Bugs did. I did, because I cheated, but in a cool way.
I wouldn't have traded that series for anything in the world, except my job back. I'd like to have not been fired for being the only sane man in the room.
It had nastiness, goalie duels, fights. You know, I was going to list off all the things that make hockey great, but this series only had like 3 of them.